Hey y'all, I'm Sincerely Jasmine, and you are now tuned into Cultural Behavior.
And I'm your boy Ed Hip, and we're sitting here with Rashaad Lambert. And today we'll get into so many different conversations about entrepreneurship and just being a creative in the industry right now.
But first and foremost, this is our first episode. I'm so excited. I'm super excited to have Rashaad here. I'm super excited to be starting this. So how y'all feel this today?
I'm excited. I'm really excited just because we have someone like Rashaad here. Being as though it's kind of funny that before we even got to this point, we were talking about people that we want to sit down with,
right.
And he actually came up in conversation, remember? Yep. And we were discussing him and we have to reach out. We didn't know we was going to actually be here,
right.
So it's kind of dope that we right here with you.
Yeah, it's crazy how the blueprint all came together. So he definitely was one of our prospective guests, and then full circle, the way the universe works is so weird. A few weeks later, and me and Ed had no idea that we were both doing this. We both applied for Forbes The Culture.
Right.
Obviously, we'll get more in detail down the line.
Right.
So literally, we both get accepted into Forbes The Culture the same day. We go into inducted into the chat, and I'm like, oh, hey, bro.
Right.
We're literally planning for this podcast as this is happening.
Right.
And it just made so much sense to reach out to Rashaad.
And it felt so much more appropriate to have him as the first guest.
Yes.
Because now as we are walking into a room with new people and the chat, which is very exciting.
Right.
Now we have the perspective on the brains behind everything.
Right.
So now he can tell us from the other side of things what it was like with us coming in the group and the millions of other people that was in that group.
Definitely.
I mean?
So we're super happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a man of many trades. Tell us about all the things that you do.
Sure. So first, I want to say congratulations on your first episode. It's a lot of pressure. I didn't know I was going to be the first guest.
Right.
I thought I was
we literally just sat down and told him. He's like, oh, this
I wasn't aware.
I would have brought a gift or something. I don't know.
Thank you, though. Thank
but,
you. Your presence is a gift. We're happy
absolutely.
to have you here.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that. I gotta write that one down. My presence.
Can we quote this?
Yeah, got it. So I am Rashaad Lambert, as they said. I am the founder of Forbes The Culture, as well as Sporty Marketing Group, TL Marketing Solutions, and Cerebellum H2O. And I'll stop there because this could go on. But
sheesh.
No, keep it going. Tell us everything.
I am happy, proud, ecstatic to be celebrating my 10th year in business.
Ooh.
In June is my actual anniversary, but
wow.
I mean it is on February, so it's Black History Month and all that. So
congratulations.
this new
That's
Black
amazing.
History.
Yes, sir.
Because most businesses don't make it 10 years, especially not minority businesses.
Right.
The statistic is they last 2 to 3 years, and
wow.
3 to 5 years is the maximum. So I doubled that, beat a statistic. Now I just gotta live past 40, and we all
right.
we all the way there.
Right, we've setting records.
Breaking barriers.
That's crazy. 10 years. So tell us a little bit about. 10 years is a long time, and I know 10 years ago I had no idea about being an entrepreneur or taking that leap of faith. What really got you started to actually start your own business?
So what got me started as an adult was I worked in corporate America, and I realized that there was a glass ceiling above my head more like, I say glass ceiling, but I don't like to really use that because I know another group of people kind of use that as their metaphor. Mm-hmm. I like to relate it to my people. So, y'all watch Martin before?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So
there is this episode of Martin where bruh man is describing a dream to Martin that he had, and there was a glass refrigerator. And it was full of sandwiches. And it was locked. And he just couldn't get in the refrigerator. He just couldn't. And he said he just sat there and cried. But that's kind of how I felt going to work every day. I felt like I was looking at a glass refrigerator full of sandwiches, but I didn't have the key. I didn't know how to pick the lock. I couldn't get through, and I was stagnant and I was hungry, and I had to figure out another way to eat. And one of my mentors when I was there, I don't know if she want me to say her name, but shout out to her. She put me on to something called Six Sigma. So it's a business process improvement methodology.
Okay.
It was developed by Xerox in the early 70s, late 80s. I mean, yeah, mid 70s, late 80s. And people know Xerox for like making a paper and all that stuff. But Xerox is big on supply chain, and that wasn't their like first product. They had a whole other line of product, just like Verizon was Bell Atlantic, and they used to be like Railroad and all that. I mean, these businesses have grown over time. So with supply chain, what Six Sigma is a strategy to minimize defects per million. So if you were to do this podcast by your millionth episode, you're gonna have it down pat, and you'll make improvements each episode based on things that you see that go right or wrong. So and it's a trade. It's like a business martial art. So it comes in belts. It's like white, yellow, and then green and black. So I got my green belt while I was still in corporate America, and they paid for it. Shout out to them. And then I got my black belt once I was finished. And then when you have a black belt, you're able to teach. Okay. So I was able to teach Six Sigma from there. And when I started my business in 2009, it was just a marketing company, and then by 2012 is when I had my black belt, and that's when I changed it to a sporty marketing group, and we became the first Six Sigma, the first Six Sigma marketing company in the world. So
that's major.
That's
and
crazy.
Right here from Philadelphia,
West Philadelphia,
to be exact. You know what I mean?
What high school you went to?
I went to Bartram.
Okay. So I want you to
Bartram
elaborate.
Motivation. Sorry, shout out to Motivation.
Shout out to Bartram. I just want to know a little bit, and this is we 5 minutes in. This is so insightful. I want to know a little bit more about this Six Sigma thing, because I work in corporate, and I totally understand the aspect of that glass ceiling that you're describing, and that feeling like you where do I go? But that's not a term that I've heard of before, or a idea that I've heard of before.
Right.
So a Six Sigma is used mostly in a project management. Okay. So when you are you're managing multiple people, so I can just give you an example. It might help explain it better. So one of the first Six Sigma projects that I worked on was for a company. Let's see, this is. No, my NDA didn't expire yet. So it was with a company, and the problem was that they had a call center, and the call center. So I got to give you a little bit of backstory too. So a part of my 8-year journey through corporate America is I worked pretty much every job that you could think of, and one of those jobs was in a call center. Okay. And while I was in that call center, I felt like I was really trapped. This was before I even had most of my newer entrepreneurial thoughts. I just was trying to go from job to job to job, and I was going with whoever paid. Yeah. I was chasing the check, and I couldn't understand why I was there. I'm like, well, how did I end up here? Like, I'm way too smart to be answering phones for some company that I've never even been to. So fast forward, when I got this newer position, it was a much different position. I was working in a management level. I was right under the C-suite, so I was working with one of the VPs. That's a crazy upgrade from a call center. As an assistant director. I mean, there was some years in between. Because after that is when I went and I worked at Temple. Shout out to TU. But in this particular company, in their call center, their issue was a quality issue, and they were trying to figure out why is it that the call quality is declining rapidly. So call centers work in two different ways. There's you can hire a call center, so you can hire some customer service. You can outsource, which most of the people, if you call any company, is usually they outsource
Asia or India,
third party.
But at this particular time, they still had an in-house call center also, and the average time frame that people had worked in that call center was 15 years.
Wow.
What's the longest you ever had a job?
Definitely not 15 years.
Like
I
6 years.
I just
6
quit
years.
my like longest term job, and it was
And
like
what was the
3
term?
years, 3.5 years.
If you work a job for 15 years, you literally know everything about anything that you
Right.
can do, but you also know how to work the system to your benefit.
Right.
So there was two problems that I had to figure out. I had to figure out why the internal call center wasn't performing well, and I had to figure out why the external call center wasn't performing
Right.
well. Now, because I had already worked in both, it kind of like clicked at that moment, like, oh, this is why I had that job. Because in the future, I have to solve a problem that I was a part of. So the problem with the external call center was that they don't pay these people enough, and they're all temps. So they have no vested interest in the success of this company.
Got it.
And the problem with the internal call center was that they've been there for too long, and they know how to work the system. So
Right.
they know how to put a call on hold, go on break, go to the bathroom,
Right, they-
and come back. And you know, so that was kind of the issue. But how I figured that out was using a Six Sigma methodology. It was going through a whole different set of systems, and it's like meeting after meeting after meeting is really what it is, because you have to talk to the people and really get an idea, and then you can look at the data and look at if it matches against what they're saying, basically. And there's a lot of different. I mean, it could get really boring if I start explaining like how detailed it gets. There's one system that I'll share. It's called a SIPOC. So that's an acronym. It's a suppliers, inputs, providers. Supplies, inputs, providers, outputs, and then consumers. Or it goes in a reverse, and it's called a COPUS,
Right,
which is
consumer.
customers. Consumer. Blah, blah. And it depends on which way your company works. If you
Right.
have your customers first or your suppliers first. In this particular instance, I had to do both. I had to figure out the perspective of the supplier, who is the company, and then I had to figure out the perspective of the consumer, and I had to walk through the process. What happens when you first call, and then what happens after that, and then what's the output, all of that.
Right.
And I had to go from this side. Okay, what happens when you first get a call, and then what do you do, and then what happens, and then what happens, and I had to talk to people in these and figure out where there was a disconnect. Now, I can say this part because I'll never go back to that company again, but I milked that contract for 6 months longer than I needed to, because I knew what the problem was as soon as I got it. But I just had to, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. They were my first contract out of being in a job, and I actually used to work for that particular company. So I felt like they owed me 6 months.
You had an advantage.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta overcharge them for what they did to the Cold Crush. Shout out to the Cold Crush brothers.
Shout out. So how do you feel as though, like, when you first started out and you were saying like you had those like call center jobs and things of that nature, being as though like now everything is like digital and things of that nature, did you see yourself going exactly where you are now when you were there?
I was kind of on the cusp of that. So in these jobs, most of the jobs that I had, now that I think about it, nobody ever asked that before, but now that I think about it, most of the jobs that I had, we were transitioning them from an analog strategy into a digital strategy. And I don't think I ever said this before, but my first job at Temple University was I worked in undergraduate admissions. Okay. And so if anybody's admissions got messed up, don't blame me. It's not, if you was there around that time, it's not my fault. Because I'm gonna tell you what really happened. So people can't see the room we're in, but it was a room about this size, and there was file cabinets all around it, and it was full of folders. So when you would submit your application, it would go into a folder and filed under that letter, and it was the room. It was the hottest room I've ever been in my life. But we were taking the folders one by one
into those file
and
cabinets.
entering them into the computer one by one. We would take the folder out, scan it, put it in the computer, and put it back. Jeez. And that was my job for my. That was the first part of my job until they realized that they were like grossly underutilizing my skill set, and I did not belong in some file room. But that was the job. So there was that, and then there was the other company. What can I say? It was a health insurance company. Okay. And we were taking the paper claims and putting them into a computer system. It's kind of it kind of was the same thing. And then I worked at a law firm, and we were taking paper cases and putting them into a computer system. So at this particular time is when things were transitioning, and that's kind of what put my focus on the digital stuff, because I saw what was happening, and I wanted to kind of like jump out in front of it.
And that's the beauty of like being like our age, because we were a part of sitting outside playing and just creating
and now
games.
having these video games, definitely.
Yeah.
We definitely are like in that era, like you said, just kind of being able to experience that transition from analog to digital, from playing outside to video games. So that was very insightful.
These kids do not know anything about playing outside.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
Manhunt, cops and robbers, tag. We used to play Power Rangers back then.
Anything that be outside, jump rope,
I
anything.
thought the White Ranger was the dopest. Like,
I did
his
too.
whole getup was just like
But
premium.
I guess because I'm a girl, obviously.
They
Wow.
did.
Shout out to Zach.
I'm telling you, man.
All right, we are going to head out for a quick break. I'm your girl, Sincerely Jasmine.
I'm your boy Ed Hip,
and we're here with Rashaad, and we'll be right back. Sure.
Welcome back. You are now tuned into Cultural Behavior Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Hip.
I'm Sincerely Jasmine.
And we're sitting here with my man, Rashaad. Sorry about that. So I want to know, bro, like, how did you get into marketing? Like, where did it start?
Okay. I'll give you the short version of this story.
You keep trying to give us the watered down version. Give us the version.
Okay. Like, he's here with the tea.
Bring us the tea.
So when I was, and I'm not, like, I really hope I don't get nobody in trouble with this, because they meant the best. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to preface this with they meant well. So my first company that I had was when I was 10 years old. I grew up in the church. So I used to clean my mom's church, and the guy who was the custodian, I used to just help him out because he was like an older dude,
right? And
then he passed away, and they needed somebody to do it. So I was already doing it, so I kept doing it. I wasn't getting paid that much though. Now I think about it, they was getting away with murder. I can't say. So after a while, I was doing that one church, and word kind of started to spread to like other neighborhood churches, and they wanted me to come in and do theirs too.
Oh,
so
wow.
I would go there, but then it kind of got to be too much, and I had some other friends who didn't have jobs, so it's like, hey, y'all know how you do chores? Want to do that and get paid for it? So I kind of like spread out, and we had, we had a couple before I not realized, because in retrospect, it was a pretty good business, and if I had kept that cleaning business up, I would have been doing pretty good. It would have saved me from doing some other stuff, but it didn't last that long. It lasted a couple years until I realized I'm not cleaning this, or like cleaning wasn't cool. It was like, oh no, I need something cool to do.
Right, you grew into your teenage years.
Yeah, and then around the time when I was like 12 or 13 is when I started rapping or whatever. So like I was more focused on that. I'm like, I'm way too cool for this. I need a big chain, a 7X t-shirt. Some Timbs, like that's all I cared about.
Don't let World Star run up on you.
Yeah, I mean, there was no World Star. If I wish we had the internet back then, because things would have been different. But then again, maybe not, because I might there would be some things that I don't want to remember that would have been recorded. So
because once it hit the internet, we just
it lives forever.
It's on the internet, it's out there
forever.
Right.
Then when I was 15. One of the old heads that lived across the street from me in my neighborhood, he put me on to the wholesale game. Okay. I didn't really understand where he had been all this time. Now I know that he was in jail, but he came home, he came back to the block, and I just so happened to be sitting outside that day, and I saw him. And he was always just he just always was like, yo, get off the block, yo, go in the house, yo, like, yeah, man, you don't need to be out here. There's nothing out here for you.
Right.
And he was gone for a minute, so I was up disobeying the rules.
Right.
And when he came back, I think I was sitting on the steps, and I saw him go in the house, and I said, what's up to him? And he was like, yo. And then he came back, I was like, come here. I'm like, what's up? where you been? And he said something like, "Oh, I was traveling, something like that."
College.
College. And I had a bag in my hand because I think I was coming from the store. He's like, "Oh, what you got?" And I was like, "Oh, I just went in and I got a platter and I got some T-shirts." And he laughed. He was like, "Man, you still supporting them?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, what's wrong with Miss Kim and them?" And he like, "They ain't never do nothing for you. They don't care nothing about this neighborhood."
Facts.
And I'm like 14, 15. I'm like, man, whatever. Is where I get my stuff from is convenient. It's literally right on the corner of the block. Right. Like, I don't know why I would not want to, not want to support them. They never do nothing to me. Right. So he's like, listen, how much you think you spend with them a week? And I'm like, maybe around $5 or like $10 a day. He was like, all right, say that money. He's like, do you have that? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, all right, I'm gonna give you this address. I want you to go to this place. I want you to take that money and ask for the same thing that you would ask for there. I was like, all right, cool. Now, at this particular time, the place that he sent me to was 5th and Alany. I'm from West Philly. There was no Uber. There was like I had to catch like 4 buses, all 2 trains, all the way up to 5th and Alany, and I didn't even know what. But that's how much I trusted him because I just was like, all right, I'm gonna go. I took the address, went. He told me to ask for Lee. I'm like, all right, I asked for Lee. The Asian dude comes out, was like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, Jamal told me to come here. I don't know if I was supposed to say. He did. Rest in peace, Maul. But he said, Maul told me to come here. And he's like, oh, you a friend of mine? Okay. I'm like, all right, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I gave him the $70, and he came back with, I'm going to make another TV reference. You remember when the Fresh Prince handed Carlton the Chictionary and it started glowing?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's how he came back with a box of T-shirts.
Like, you thought you was getting a pack.
Listen, I didn't know. I had never seen that many T-shirts all at once, like all white tees. And he was like, well, what sizes do you need? And I'm like, man, free size, because free size was a thing back then. As long as it was, the bigger the T-shirt, the better. Right. So I was like, I'll take all free size. And it was lit. I had to carry that box back on the train. I got back around my way. I took the box in the house. I called my homies like, yo, y'all gotta come see this. Before I could even explain to them what was happening, as soon as they my house used to be like the chill spot. So they came in and I opened the box and they started handing me money. Before I could even say anything, before I could even explain what was happening, they started handing me money. And I was like, ding! Wow. Like a light bulb went off. I was like, oh, now I get it. I understand now. I started to like undercut them. I started selling them 2 for $5 because they were selling them for $7 each. So I started to, and I was paying way less than that. So I started selling them for $5 at first, and then I started selling them 2 for $5, and then I went back to my school. I started selling them in my school. This is one of the funniest parts, and I'll never forget this. I ran out of space in my locker because I used to use my locker as like a closet. So I ran out of space in my locker because I started adding other products to it, and I'll get to that in a second. But I had to rent like lockers. So I was paying $5 a week rent to use. So the school I was in Virtual Motivation. Yeah, we had 3 floors. So we had we had lockers in the basement, lockers on the first floor, and then we had lockers on the second floor. So I had to rent a locker in the basement, and I had to rent one on the 3rd floor because I needed to be, if I had class downstairs and if I had class upstairs, I needed to be able to go in the hallway, go get shirts or meet people at the locker or whatever. And I remember 147, that was my locker. And my locker was maybe 7 or 8 lockers from the main office. Gosh. But I didn't know I was doing like I was
doing nothing bad.
Yeah. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. I didn't know that was illegal. I had no clue. I just was a young entrepreneurial black man trying to stay out of trouble. That's all. The next part is how I kind of got in trouble. They had vending machines there, and one day I was in class and I went to the vending machine. And I started looking at the prices. I'm like, man, this stuff is really high.
Oh man!
And it wasn't fresh. Right. And I had a flashback again. I told you I grew up in the church, and my mom was like an elder trustee or whatever the title was. So she had the BJ's card. Oh yeah. So that day after school, I had some money. I was like, Mom, can we go to BJ's? And she was like,
for what?
What you into?
She hit me. I went to Soulja Boy BJ's.
BJ.
So I'm like, we can go. I was like, I got an idea, and I just want to, I asked her to like, I wanted her to like invest with me. So I'm like, if I want to spend this amount, can you match it and I give you your money back? Yeah, man. Shout out to my mom because I definitely never paid her back. But but she didn't stop supporting me. She never even asked me for the money. That's why. If she had asked me for it, I definitely had it. I made that money 3 or 4 times over. But she never asked me for it. She just was happy that I wasn't doing nothing else. Like,
Right.
So I got candy. So this is the thing, and I've been saying this lately only because I want my credit. I don't want credit for a whole lot of things, but I want my credit for this. I went to BJ's. I got the chips. I had the hugs. I had 50-cent hugs, and I got candy. And I don't eat candy because I don't get high on my own supply. But I went and bought all this assorted candy. And I'm like, I don't want to be carrying around all this change.
Right.
I need to figure out a way to not have to carry around change because I couldn't charge.
Putting the candy in the plastic bag.
I used to
That's
put
what you telling
put
me.
all these candies together. I put them in plastic bags, and I used to sell it for $1.
Wow.
And it was way
We are
more
sitting
than
here with
$1
the
worth
Philly
of
inventor.
candy.
And the thing is, I really
peddler,
think
man.
it's a Philly thing. So we sitting here with
saying.
the inventor of put the fruities in the bag and sell it for 50 cents.
And more than fruity though, because so how I would do it because I was going to BJ's. I would bust open the Starburst. I bust open the Annihilators. All that. They were getting like real candy, not like. And that probably made me not want to eat candy even more because I saw how people were acting over it. And I'm like, man, you would think I was selling drugs because they were like,
is this laced?
Yo, I had a Nextel phone and people used to chirp me while I was in class.
Oh my God.
To meet them at the locker. And like, I forget, I got my phone taken one day because somebody was like, yo, I'm at 147. I'm like, no.
147 was really the spot.
Like, I'm in class right now. Can you like
I'm trying to learn how to count all this money.
Yeah, man, got my phone taken.
Wow.
Man, I was pissed. But long story short, that got shut down because they thought I was selling drugs. And I kind of expanded that one too. Same thing, same friends. We all went to different high schools. I'm like, yo, I got this hustle. It seemed to be working. If you can duplicate this in your school, I give you the same price I'm getting it for. I'm not gonna try to make no money off of y'all with y'all family. Right. And how can I tell this next part? Basically, man, somebody got caught and they told on everybody. No. And then I came out of class one day. And there was no door on 147. They took the door off my locker.
Shut down.
Hit his locker.
They took the door off my locker, and
oh my gosh.
I was walking towards the locker. So when you're walking down the hallway, all the lockers kind of look the same, but I could see that something was different. And I looked. As I got closer, I hit like a U-turn, and as soon as I hit that U-turn, maybe like a few other steps, I heard my name on the loudspeaker, and my dad wasn't around a lot when I was growing up, but my uncle, his little brother, was like my dad. I was scared to death of my Uncle Mike. Rest in peace, Uncle Mike. I walked in that office, and before I even saw my mom, I saw my Uncle Mike, and I was like,
it's over.
I'm like, listen, it's over. I couldn't even explain it because I knew that he wasn't trying to hear it. Like, if they made him come up to the school, like, it just wasn't good. And they explained, like, they're like, yeah, your son is operating an illegal business. And I'm like, wait, time out. I know what it looked like, but there's nothing illegal about this. I sell candy, T-shirts, and chips. And they're like, yeah, but you can't do that here. And I was like, why not?
It's where the people at.
They never tell you that.
Listen, I'm like, why not? Y'all do it. Y'all got that high-priced vending machine. Why can't I do this? And my uncle just grabbed me. It was like, just stop talking.
You don't get it.
You're making it worse. Like, just stop talking. But how I actually got caught, and this is like not really important, but it's kind of important in case any kids listen to this and they want to try to duplicate this. How I got caught, they didn't really know what I was doing, or they didn't know who was doing it. The person that got caught was in another satellite school. They were at another Bartram, and they were in a smaller Bartram, Human Services. Shout out to you, Rico. But the Rico of this situation, his name not Rico. But, how I got caught was when they would come and refill the vending machines every month. It usually was half empty, a quarter empty.
Now they not
it was completely full. It was completely full every time.
They
and for like 3 months,
partnership with Bartram.
For like 3 or 4 months, they just had to come throw everything away because it was all expired, all stale. Right. Even though I love Bartram and all, but a lot of that stuff was already stale. I just want to throw it out there.
You did say that, so that's why I was thinking it was already stale.
Like, it was pretty stale. It was not a party in that mix,
but it was
sure.
stale by the time you started
hustling. Like real stale.
So could we give you credit for like being the first person that cared about what the kids intake in school? Just think about it. Before it was all health and stuff. Now he gave them fresh candy. You know what I mean? They was killing us with them old honey buns and all that. Like,
man, but Michelle Obama would not have been proud of that.
What I truly appreciate is the fact that like that story, you're really an entrepreneur from day one. Like that story really just tells like just how it all unpeeled. Like I'm so happy you were able to explain it, because it's like a lot of people ask like how'd you get started or what got you into this, and it was like this was always a part of me. Like this was always me.
But you know what the bad part about that is I didn't know what I was doing. Like that's one of the reasons why I'm so like hard on like my children, and why my like any person I mentor, whether it's a child or an adult, I'm really strict on them, and I try my best to be as available as possible, because I remember not having a mentor and not having somebody who understood business to like advise me. I'm getting advice from people who are career employees, and that like it wasn't helpful. It was, oh yeah, you can do this because it's gonna look good on your resume when you go get a job. Not like, yo, you could do this and you could turn it into this, and you could do like they weren't encouraging me to be an entrepreneur. They were encouraging me to go get another job or to go get a job, and I don't know. It's nothing wrong with having a job, because if I hadn't spent those 8 years in corporate, I wouldn't understand most of the stuff that I do now. So I learned a lot of good lessons from it, but I just wish I had been more encouraged in entrepreneurship, and that's why I try to be that person for other people. Because I'll tell you straight up, if you come to me with an idea, I'll say, yeah, this is great, but keep your day job. Like keep your day job until you work on this. And I didn't leave my job, and I didn't leave my actual job until I could double my
salary.
My bi-weekly check. Like if I couldn't make more, I wasn't leaving, because I had benefits. I had pretty much everything that I needed. I just wasn't happy, and that's one of the most important things, is that I was spending money like I was printing it. Like I was my mom was not happy with that at all. Like I was I was going crazy. Like I was I used to work downtown. I'm trying to think if I could say where it was. So I used to work on 9th and Chestnut. In a building across from Jefferson Hospital. If you work there, then I mean you know me anyway. But now you know what I'm talking about. But I used to walk to the gallery every day. Literally every day at lunch, I would go to the gallery and go shopping. I had nobody told me save your money, invest.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this general story, is just like if you're doing something, make sure you're doing it with a purpose. You're not just doing it.
And seek advice.
Exactly.
Like ask people.
And you brought up mentorship. That's very important too.
Ask people.
Rashaad is here if you guys need a mentor, because I feel like I'm gonna reach out to him to be my mentor after this.
Man, listen,
but we're about to head to a quick break. We'll be right back here at Cultural Behavior. I'm your host, Sincerely Jasmine.
And I'm your boy, Ed Hip.
And we're here with Rashaad. Be right back.
Hey.
We are back to Cultural Behavior Podcast, and I'm your boy, Ed Hip.
And I'm your girl, Sincerely Jasmine, and we are here with Rashaad. And so I just wanted to quickly touch base on something that's kind of been like catching my attention in these particularly the start of this year. Just the idea of like social media, particularly social media influencers and, like artists, particularly Soulja Boy. And like my general question is just like Big Draco. Hopefully Soulja Boy, we can get Soulja Boy on here. But honestly, just talking about the idea of just like popularity numbers over skill. You know what I'm saying? Like, not necessarily a question, but just a topic of discussion. Like, do we feel like we're accrediting people based off of their actual talents and, you know, what they've done, or just like the current numbers, or like, you know, like how is the industry moving right now?
What you think about that, man?
I think a lot. I mean, it really. So, I have this, and I was trying to remember the quote exactly, but it's about success versus popularity.
Right.
And the one that I can remember is from Frank Underwood, from this show called I'll call him House of Cards. And if y'all can't tell, I'm into pop culture very heavily. All I remember is TV. But he said something about like power versus money. Like power, he said money is you know, the new mansion that's built, and then you have a quick strike fire, and it's burned to the ground.
Right.
But he said power is the McMansion that's in Sarasota that's been standing for hundreds of years.
Right.
And that's how I feel with this whole clout chasing culture and all of these things. I mean, we could talk about Soulja Boy, or we could talk about 6ix9ine, or we could talk about all these different
like
people.
A theme.
Oh man,
all of these different people that is really sad that the talent is being overshadowed by all of the foolishness. I don't know how much talent 6ix9ine had. He just yelled a lot, but
I don't think we got a chance to see, because he was so foolish and like so out there that we didn't really get a chance to. We didn't get a chance to see if we like the talent or not, you know, like, and that's kind of how I feel about a lot of people. It's like, are they skilled? Are they talented? Or are they just like in our face?
But think about why we know them. Sorry to cut you off. But think about why we know them. Like, did we choose this person because of their ability to actually reach like a particular audience?
Right.
Or did we
numbers.
choose this person because they reached the audience by making a fool out of themselves?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then by the time they try to like show you who they really are, we're not interested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're not making a fool out of yourself, what was that one guy named? What was his name?
See, that's how it happens.
Oh my goodness!
Who?
Yeah,
he used to yell
for real.
something gang. I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking
All
about.
types of gangs.
I know who you're talking about.
Gucci gang.
He was a weird internet guy who would just like go into random places and do really
guy.
outlandish things.
Yes, that's his name.
Yeah,
And
see, but like that's just another example of an influencer who's getting a lot of flower attention, and just like I would see his videos and be ashamed. Like he really went into this McDonald's and stood on the counter, or he really went and, like, this is crazy.
The sad part about it is we only loved him when he was under the influence. You know,
was
because clearly
sad.
he was on drugs,
and
he was doing a lot of things that like tore him up as an individual and his brand, or whatever you want to call it. And the minute he hopped on social media and said, you know, I'm done with doing XYZ, where is he? I didn't remember his name.
Right.
You know, and I couldn't tell you who he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you compare it to an artist who, like, I'm thinking about Rico Havoc. He poured like pills in the toilet one time, and everybody appreciated where he was coming from with that, because he wasn't out here making a fool out of himself because of drugs. It was just something he mixed in with what he do. You know what I mean? And we still listen to Rico. We still support him. You know what I mean? And it's like, then there's the other guy who was only known
if your
for being a
platform
fool.
is built on chaos, can you have a brand or platform without chaos existing? And that kind of brings it back to Soulja Boy, because Soulja Boy always been a little out there.
Probably not.
True.
I mean, I remember the beginning of his career. It was 05, and Crank That Soulja Boy was I don't even know, it was like before Crank That Soulja Boy, but I mean by the time Crank That Soulja Boy made it to radio in 07, that song was like 3 years old. But I remember seeing white college students on YouTube cranking That Soulja Boy. There was another group and they had this song called Do the Heisman, but that was influenced by Soulja Boy, like having these songs, having YouTube, which was a visual this new visual medium, is what made it so that these things could reach the height of popularity. And having a dance that went with the song kind of is what made Soulja Boy and A-Rab and all his homies that don't even rap no more. They were just there just to support him, but they did it because now that you have this platform where you can reach thousands, millions of people, and you getting these millions of views, and you making these little pennies off of YouTube, right. You have to use that to make money elsewhere. It's just like people that are trying to sell music that's in a non-visual medium.
Right.
You don't really make any money off of streaming. So they're utilizing that to try to get popular enough so they can go on tour or so they can go and do the Breakfast Club or so they can go to these other places, and they're going to these places because they are larger platforms that will get them more views, and it makes people more interested. I really hate to bring this dude up, but Robert currently, his documentary, it basically like...
I was about to say Robert, but okay,
got
it.
I was right with it.
Got it.
His people saw the documentary.
Right.
People that are our age, possibly, or I'll say my age, we knew, we've seen the tape. Like we canceled R. Kelly a long time ago.
Right.
I said it. But
we'll beat that out.
Yeah. But when this comes out, there are a whole nother generation who have never been exposed to Robert. So now that they see this, they're like, well, why did this guy last this long? I need to go find out. So they're going on YouTube and looking up his videos and going on streaming services and playing his songs. And now next thing you know, his music is up 432% over what his normal stuff is because people are curious. And sometimes that is the downfall. Like if you seriously think about the type of mind that you have to be curious about that, like there are people who saw that and went looking for the tape. Like that, like this is the world that we live in, and when we got people like Vlad. I mean, I know Star probably gonna hear this. I know I'm not supposed to talk about Vlad, but Vlad is a cancer to hip hop. Like he is one of the reasons why people are doing this type of stuff because he based his platform off of buffoonery, like off of people just going on there and saying. Regardless of what they're saying, they go in and do a show just like your show, and then he takes it and he cuts it up into some nonsense, and the next thing you know, they like
take that one little clip and
they
make it go viral.
And because it's so popular, they don't want to go back and say no, that's not what I meant, or that's not what
I
said. Right. No, they just let it rock.
I just run with it.
Check out my interview.
Or they just let it rock. Like if you look at people like if you like Soulja Boy, like he utilized these platforms to try to sell this game console. Because nothing was moving. Right. Like when nothing is moving, there are conversations that most of the public are never going to be privy to that happen behind closed doors.
For sure. What can we do to get this back up in motion?
No. It's not what can we do. It's what are you going to do to get this popping?
Yeah.
I saw this video of a Bobby Shmurda before he got signed. He was in some conference room dancing on the conference table, and I'm like, this is like crazy. Like what? And I remember not Kodak Black. Black Youngster, he was doing the same thing before he put out the Booty song. Right. He's in the conference room, with all these people sitting around the table, and he dancing and all that because trying to sell it to them, like trying to sell it. And those are the sort of things that people feel like they have to do, or they don't feel like is what the viewing public has made a necessity for you to sell music or for you to become a popular artist. If we want to take it local, you look at somebody like Quilly. Quilly, I don't even know where he was. If he was in jail or something like that. I'm not sure
where he was either, but we definitely know that he
came
back.
He came home or came back or whatever, came home from college, I guess. And he's been doing ridiculous stuff.
Making
and
a
if
fool
it wasn't
of himself.
For that, we wouldn't even know that he was still around.
Alive, yeah.
His videos are being reposted and people are screenshotting his lives and all this other stuff. And I don't even know if he put out new music recently, but it seemed like he transitioned from like a rapper into a comedian. And I remember when he was like an actual rapper and people were like saying that he was the next up. I don't know, but people were saying that he was he was the next guy out of Philly. He was working with all the right people, and then he just disappeared. And now this is how he makes his resurgence. But it's based off of people like Soulja Boy and 6ix9ine.
Right, that's so true.
Who have shown that this is the way. Like
this is how you get back
this
on.
works. But what they don't realize is that behind the scenes of that, there are people who are creating these memes. There are people who are like, all of this stuff is like, it's like contrived. I'll tell you a quick story that I don't know if it's public, so if somebody starts swinging through the window or you see a red dot or whatever. So Madonna has this company. It's called Dance On. Have you heard of it before? Anybody heard of it? Did you hear that song Whip Nene?
Yeah.
You remember who it was by?
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay.
No, not
so
at
Whip
all.
Nene was by this guy named Silento.
Right,
Yeah.
Who
Silento.
was a low budget version of Soulja Boy.
Yeah.
And they found this kid. They dressed him up. He was not an artist. He didn't have any other music. They gave him this song that somebody wrote. And what Madonna's company Dance On does is they create viral sensations.
Oh, wow.
So just think about that. And think about all the things that you've seen over time that seemed like they were real and organic. And think about now knowing that there's this company that literally creates viral
Programming
sensations.
this stuff.
Wow.
Not only do they create the memes, they create
The dance, the
the dances, the songs, they shoot the video, they get other popular people to repost the video, they get people to repost the song, they get them on like Good Morning America and all these, and they really create viral sensations. What was Silento's second song?
He had a second song?
Was there another one?
I don't think there wasn't a
never
second
happened.
song.
It
Is
never
his name
happened.
still that? Or
He doesn't exist anymore. He never existed.
never existed.
That's what I'm
Scary.
saying. He never existed. He's not like he's a real person. I'm
Yeah,
saying,
but he's not. His
purpose
character
was
isn't
that Whip Nene song was Crank That Soulja Boy
2016.
0.5 because I don't
Yeah.
even want to call it 2.0, but 0.5. when you got people like Hillary Clinton and all these other people that are like on TV doing the
this,
Whip
yeah.
Nene, like
Right.
you can see that this is like, why is she not singing
That's
Jay-Z?
so
Why is she
true.
not singing? And these other things, like, it is whatever is popular at that particular moment, people jump on that. Once that moment was over, I think at one time he had the most streamed video in the history of YouTube. It's still, if you look it up now, it's got billions of streams. Him and the guy that made Gangnam Style, and people
wow.
thought that. People thought that he was a new artist. Psy is the guy that made Gangnam Style. Psy got 13 albums. Like, that just was
What?
one. Yeah, that was just one song that
Wow.
they decided was the
good
one that they
one,
wanted
yeah.
to make the viral sensation, and it was everywhere. Opa Gangnam Style. I don't even know what that means.
Right?
I, have no
I don't
clue what
even
that
think
means.
that's
I
English.
didn't think it was kid
No, it's definitely not
appropriate.
English.
Right.
I'm saying it's
What
definitely
are you
not
I'm
English.
like, what is this?
I have
Like,
Yeah.
no clue what that means.
But I
that's
think,
kinda
like,
the-
all in all, that trying to like answers the question where it's like in today's time, you don't necessarily have to have talent to be popular.
Right,
like,
right,
you know,
right.
in this world of
If you want to
influencers
last,
and-
though, if you
yeah.
want longevity, you have to have talent. Because
Exactly.
once all of that wears off, if your music is not good,
the followers will go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the likes will go, the views will go. Well, we're going to head to a quick break. We'll be right back. You're here with Cultural Behavior. I'm Sincerely Jasmine.
And I'm Ed Hip, and we're here with Rashaad.
Hey.
Stay tuned.
You are now back to Cultural Behavior. I'm your girl, Sincerely Jasmine.
And I'm Ed Hip, and we're here with our brother Rashaad.
And honestly, like, I really genuinely appreciate all the gems that you dropped on us. And like, being our first guest, like, this was so insightful. Like,
Facts,
I
facts.
don't know how Ed feel, because Ed already smart, but I was able to take a lot of stuff in. So I genuinely appreciate you for sitting down with us today.
Same here.
So tell the people where they can find you. Obviously, everybody want to reach out to you so you can mentor them.
You can find me at RashaadLambert.com, SportyMarketing.com, at King_spit, because if thou doth not proclaimeth thyself a king, who shall?
Word.
At Sporty Marketing, at Forbes the Culture, at Lambert Legacy Charities,
Yes.
and other stuff. Just go to your favorite search engine and just type in Rashaad, Rashaad, Lambert, Lambert, and pick whatever you want.
In other words, he's saying just Google me.
I didn't say that.
He was trying to be so humble.
Just Google me. Your favorite is the most reliable Google, and just type my name in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Cultural Behavior. You can obviously follow us, Cultural Behavior, on Instagram. And tune in next time.
Yep, and I'm your host, Ed Hip.
And I'm Sincerely Jasmine, and thank you for taking a seat at the table. See you guys next time.
Yep.